Welcome on into the AZ Wildcats podcast, everybody. Today we have a jam-packed episode for you. We're going to be previewing Arizona versus Oklahoma State, a must-win, season-defining type of game for the Wildcats. And we're going to be doing it with our guy, Justin Spears, who will be joining us here in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. It's the AZ Wildcats podcast. Welcome on in, everybody, to the AZ Wildcats podcast, coming to you live from Studio K, presented by our friends over at Circle K. I am Damon Doege, and I am, of course, not joined by Kevin Thomas today on this fine Thursday afternoon because Kevin is enjoying himself at a nice wedding here in the great state of Arizona, the Freedom State, as Kevin likes to call it. But that doesn't mean that things stop over here on the AZ Wildcats podcast because I am now taking over in his seat. I am sitting in his chair, and now we are going to be talking about Arizona Wildcats football all damn day on this show, and that's exactly what it's all about. And then we might even toss in a little bit of a NCAA tournament update here at the very end. But yeah, we're excited to be talking all day long on this one. Sorry about that, guys. We will be getting up and running here in just a second, just waiting on Justin to get in here. But yeah, fired up about today's show, fired up about talking about the Arizona Wildcats and this massive point spread against the Oklahoma State Cowboys. It is 20.5 points, I believe, as it currently stands. It is the biggest power conference spread here that we've seen in a very, very long time against an Arizona Wildcats team. It's been since, I believe, 2017 when Khalil Tate was on the Wildcats. That this has been a 3-touchdown spread here. And we do have our guy Justin Spears being brought on in here because I forgot to send him the link. So I apologize for that one. But we will have Justin here in just a second on the AZ Wildcats pod. But yeah, excited to be talking about this game with my guy Justin Spears all day long. Bring it in on Justin. Justin, how we doing, my man? Sorry for not getting you that link. That's on me. I'll wear that one. I'll take some accountability on that one.
Oh, going on, and then all of a sudden, I see that you're live on air, and I'm like, all right, well, we're on. Send me the link, Damon. Let's talk some Arizona football. Damn it. Let's do it.
That's on me. Unfortunately, I did not think to just tell you, hey, it's the same link as always, Justin. Same link as always.
And now that I know that. So now we won't run into that issue anymore. So no, I just thought it was a new link every single time. So I was like, yo, where is it? But no, I'm glad to be here, man. It's busy weekend in Tucson, Arizona. Not only do you have Arizona football against Oklahoma State on Saturday, but you've got the Red Blue Showcase with Shaq in town. DJ D, he's going to be taking on the Red Blue after party at Bear Down Field afterwards. We also have Arizona Swimming and Dive. They've got kind of their inner squad scrimmage this week. And then you also have the Mexican Baseball Fiesta as well going on over at Keno. And it's going to be kind of the unofficial / official introduction to the Tucson baseball team, the Mexican Pacific Winter League team that's going to be setting up here in Tucson for the first time this season. They're kind of like the Toronto Blue Jays of the Mexican Pacific Winter League, and they're going to have their first look in front of their home fans tonight at Keno Stadium. And then you also have the Arizona Wildcats baseball team as well. The original plan was they were going to have the Tucson baseball team and the Arizona Wildcats play against each other. But there was something that happened, and they were forced to split up the game or the teams. So you won't get the Wildcats versus the Tucson baseball team. But I kind of think that works out better for them because you could go see a doubleheader. You can go see the Arizona Wildcats play up against, I think it's Hermosillo. And then the Tucson baseball team, they'll be playing against Obregon. So you get to see a doubleheader of Tucson's professional baseball team and then Tucson's college team in the Arizona Wildcats. And that starts tonight, and it goes all throughout the weekend over there at Keno Stadium. You can get your tickets by going to MexicanBaseballFiesta.com. But, yeah, busy weekend in Tucson, Arizona. And then one of my favorite comedians of all time, Dan Soder, is going to be performing at the Rialto Friday night as well. So great place to be, Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah, we got some crazy comedy shows going on in Tucson pretty soon here, Justin, which should be pretty damn cool. But yeah, great times to be living in the old Pueblo, and a big football game also on Saturday. Make sure that you guys drop a like here if you are here already in the chat. But Justin, I was reading your article, I believe it was yesterday, that you dropped that this is the largest spread against a Arizona Power Conference opponent since Oregon State in 2017, which is pretty crazy to think about. I mean, 8 years ago, 8 years it's been since you've had a 3-touchdown spread against a Power Conference opponent. Just kind of what do you expect this weekend from Arizona, and just I guess does that spread seem like it? I guess, is it worthy? Is Arizona worthy of that spread after a 25-point blowout loss to Iowa State just last week?
I don't know if it's necessarily Arizona's worthy. I just think it's just how bad Oklahoma State is. I mean, this is where they're at right now as a program. They let go of their head coach, Mike Gundy, after 20-plus seasons at the helm. And Mike Gundy, I mean, when you talk about his place in college football, he is certainly one of one. He was a guy, like Seth Doege said, he was unapologetically himself. And he was just Mike Gundy. And now the thing that made Mike Gundy special, and it also kind of played to his demise, was that he was the perfect guy for Oklahoma State, because he went out there and recruited 2 3-star prospects and turned them into great players. And under Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State, they were consistently ranked year in and year out. They were always going to the postseason. They had several top 15 finishes, right? When you think about Oklahoma State under Mike Gundy, you don't really consider them as national championship contenders, but you kind of consider them as like a tier 2 team in college football, a team that was always ranked, a team that was always going to give you a good game whenever you played against them. And he was perfect for them because he understood the culture at Oklahoma State. He played at Oklahoma State and then becomes a coach there and recruits to what he knows will make Oklahoma State a successful program. And it worked. And then came the NIL era of college football. And I spoke with Scott Wright from the Oklahoman, who does a great job covering Oklahoma State. And he said that Mike Gundy was very stubborn when it came to the NIL part. And as college football adapted, or as it evolved, Mike Gundy was too stubborn to adapt to it. And so it wasn't about paying the future players that were coming into the program. It was about making sure that he was taking care of the guys that were currently on the team. And other programs came knocking and said, hey, we can give you X amount of money if you come over to our program. And apparently a lot of players decided to leave Oklahoma State over the last couple of years. And then, they started losing, and Mike Gundy still was very stubborn to adapt to college football and the way things were. And then all of a sudden he gets let go. And now they need a guy that's, kind of like Mike Gundy, but also is going to continue to evolve alongside college football. And so Arizona right now, they're getting a team that is down right now, but they're also, they got their backs up against the wall. I don't even know if their backs are up against the wall, because that would imply that you have pressure, right? And this Oklahoma State team doesn't really have a lot of pressure because they already let go of their head coach. They just fired their defensive coordinator, Todd Grantham, last week after they gave up over 600 yards of total offense to Baylor. And obviously earlier this year, they gave up 69 points to Oregon. So Oklahoma State defensively, they are not a good football team. And this feels like it should be like the perfect bounce back game for the Arizona Wildcats offensively. I think this is a perfect game for Noah Fifita to get going, and we'll talk about him coming up here in just a little bit. But the Oklahoma State Cowboys right now, they have their interim head coach in Doug Meacham, and the one thing that he has been emphasizing really ever since he took over from Mike Gundy over the last couple of weeks, is to go out there and have fun and play carefree. And this team that's playing fun and carefree and like they got nothing to lose, Arizona should worry about a team like that. And they got rid of their defensive coordinator, so who knows what they're going to do on that side of the ball this week. And then they're also throwing out some different stuff. Last week against Baylor, even though that they lost, they put Sam Jackson, the fifth, their running back, at quarterback, and he was 3 for 4 passing, also had a touchdown pass as a running back. So they went with a wrinkle in their offense, and obviously it worked. They ended up scoring out of it. Maybe they do something like that. I think that's something to pay attention to this Saturday when Arizona plays against Oklahoma State. But this team right now is riding the struggle bus, but like I said, they're also playing fun. They're playing more carefree. And I think that's a team that Arizona should be very, very careful with because they're 3-touchdown underdogs. They're expected to go out there and lose, and not just lose, but get their asses handed to them. So I expect Oklahoma State to really give Arizona their best shot, and Brent Brennan is expecting the same thing.
Yeah, Glenn puts here in the chat that Oklahoma State has nothing to lose, and I think that's a good way of putting it. But in the same token, Kevin and I have talked about, that's also the type of team, as you mentioned a little bit earlier, that they also aren't really playing for much in general. So I feel like if you can get a team like that down early, that's the type of situation where maybe they don't have that extra fire that they would, after, firing their coach and playing a big first half versus Baylor at home. Like, I think there was a lot of conditions that made that one close. But I will say, Justin, it sounds like they're trying to get the coach firing bump 2 weeks in a row here. It seems like they're just like, hey, we have, our head coach, Mike Gundy, and then they fire him, and then that'll inject some lifeblood into the program. And then they're sitting here another week going, who could we fire now that'll make the boys play a little bit harder? And then they just landed on the DC.
Man, I really hope Charlie Dickey, the offensive line coach, is looking over his shoulder this weekend because it could be him. He could be the next guy in line. But yeah, I think maybe Doug Meacham, the interim head coach, he had something to do with the defensive coordinator getting fired. I don't think he was the guy that maybe brought it up, but he certainly had an influence on that. And Scott Wright, the Oklahoma State beat writer for the Oklahoman, he brought up an interesting point, and I can't get it out of my head. But Doug Meacham, his personality and kind of his looks, like if they were to make a movie about this Oklahoma State football team, Matthew McConaughey would be playing it. Yeah,
I mean that's high praise. I think is that, Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that might be top guy you want to play you in a movie. If you could choose anybody in the entire acting world, I think I'm going McConaughey. He's the epitome of cool.
Honestly, yeah. There's a very short list, and he's certainly on it. Top 2, maybe not 2.
Yeah, DiCaprio maybe. I mean, I think that's a good one. Maybe Michael B. Jordan. That he's cool as hell, right? Like I don't know. I those are some good options there, but we do have, Justin, an availability report
Yes,
for this game, and so this is what we got as of yesterday. I believe this is the most recent update that we have.
Yep.
And the big one here for Arizona, Trey Spivey questionable. Arizona wide receiver Trey Spivey down there questionable, and then you have some questionable players on the Oklahoma State side, I believe, that are in the rotation as well. But most of Arizona's injuries were there from previous weeks or are to more depth pieces rather than a lot of the players that are more playing. Trey Spivey, though, seems like he is kind of the big one here. Justin, what are we hearing in terms of his chances of playing on Saturday?
Yeah, so this must have been a new development because he played last week against Iowa State, scored a touchdown, his second touchdown of the season, and was actually a really good example for Brent Brennan this week as far as what to do with the eyes to tuck, because that was an issue. I mean, it has been an issue all year long. Arizona has 11 drops this season, and if those drops were caught, I mean, we're talking about Noah Fifita. His completion percentage would be kind of in the same ballpark as the 2023 Noah Fifita. And you can't drop the football on 3rd and 2, right? So That was one issue that Chris Hunter had, and he leads the team in drops this season when it comes to 4. So, yeah, you can't have all those drops, but Trey Spivey with his tough catch in the end zone against Iowa State, that was a teaching moment that Brent Brennan has been using. Like, this is what you need to do when you catch the football. So he's a very physical wide receiver. Also has some very sneaky speed as well. He's a really good athlete. I'm a big fan of Trey Spivey and what he does as one of those big body receivers. But yeah, I didn't really recall him getting injured against Iowa State. So, if he got dinged up, maybe it was this week in practice. But I haven't heard anything regarding Trey Spivey. And listen, it wouldn't surprise me if when it's all said and done, he's made available. But, you could also be available, but more of like a just-in-case option. And we saw that with Kedrick Reesano last week against Iowa State. Ked was dealing with a leg injury that he suffered leading up to the Weber State game. So he missed the Weber State game, missed the K-State game. Then they went to the bye week, and then he was suited up against Iowa State, but he did not play. And I asked Brent Brennan earlier this week, what was the situation with him? And he said, yeah, Kedge was really just kind of like a just-in-case option. And plus, Ismail Mahdi was playing so well, we felt like he was worthy of getting a bulk of the carries. So I expect Kedge Reesano to come back and have more of a role this game against Oklahoma State. But as far as Trey Spivey goes, I don't know really what's going on there, but, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw him ended up becoming available for this game coming up here against Oklahoma State.
I want to talk a little bit more about that running back kind of group that we have here in Tucson, because through 4 games, there's been 3 different guys that have kind of been given the bulk share of the carries, whether it was game 1 versus Hawaii. It seemed like it was a lot of, Ked Reesano combined with Quincy Craig hitting a couple deep shots. Then you got Ismail Mahdi kind of in the last 2 games really breaking onto the scene. And I think a lot of Arizona fans were surprised in game 1 to not see Ismail Mahdi kind of be that feature back after, the offseason, after his very, very successful, previous couple seasons at Texas State in particular. Why do you think Ismail Mahdi was not really featured all that much in game 1? And do you think that he will continue to see the bulk share of the action now that he's proven himself against probably the 2 best teams on Arizona's schedule so far?
Yeah, well, and I also think that, and the coaches would never really admit this, but, you don't want to show your full hand. And Ismail Mahdi, we all expected him to be probably Arizona's best running back going into this season. And so against Hawaii, you could get along with Ked Reesano and Quincy Craig, with all due respect to those guys, because those guys are great players, right? But, you're, thinking about the games down the road. Yeah, you don't want to show your full hand. So why would you show the goods of Ismail Mahdi and all the great things that he could do? Now, the one thing that I would like to see moving forward is him getting involved in the passing game, because I think he is a really good pass-catching running back, and I would like to see maybe some more dump-offs, maybe some screen passes to him as well. I would like to see him get out into the open field and get those those yards after catch, because I really think that he is so fast and elusive, he can make you miss. But the one thing I love about Ismail Mahdi is that he is not afraid to put his nose down and get some contact. Even if he knows, like, I'm not going to break this play for 85 yards, but let me get these 3 to 4 extra yards by putting my nose in the ground and power through these guys. So I feel like, Ismail Mahdi, we're going to see more out of him. He's 5th in the Big 12 in rushing yards. So he's a top 5 running back. Over the last couple of games, I think that he has shown that he is that starter running back. And then if you can get Ked Reesano in the mix, who could be a 3rd and short power running back. Quincy Craig is also a really effective pass catcher as well, right? He played slot receiver at Mater Dei and showed that he's a versatile running back. And then even in that game, was it against Hawaii, where he went off for 125 yards? So Quincy Craig showed that, he can also run the football as well. And, these guys aren't, fully healthy, but I think against an Oklahoma State team that's really struggling to stop the run. I mean, they've got the worst defense in the Big 12. This is a team that Arizona should have no problems with. And I think if they can establish the run against Oklahoma State and then allow things to open up for Noah Fifita in the passing game, then I think you're going to see Arizona's offense play at its best on Saturday. But I really do feel like this running back group, the headliner, has been proven that it's Ismail Mahdi. He is the guy. And then Kedrick Reesano and Quincy Craig, those are some other really powerful running backs and guys that are key contributors. And but to answer your question, I really feel like Ismail Mahdi is going to be a player that we definitely see more of. And he's a really good player. And he also had to really, settle in. When he first got to Arizona, he showed some good stuff, but, then he hit a lull in practice and training camp and stuff like that. And Alonzo Carter said that, he was really just kind of overthinking a lot of things. And when you overthink things, you're not really being yourself. And when he stopped overthinking things and really just trusted his instincts while also still taking the coaching and doing what is asked of him to do, he really started to shine. And he hit a corner really right before the season. And then, once the season started, like I said earlier, I feel like Arizona wasn't really trying to show off the goods of Ismail Mahdi. And now that they're in Big 12 play, all bets are off. You're going to get Ismail Mahdi's best week in and week out.
On the Oklahoma State side of things, is there anybody here on this availability report that drastically changes the game from Oklahoma State's standpoint?
Josh Ford at tight end and Freddie Brock at running back. But, I mean, really, they've got a couple other guys that they rely on at running back. So as far as Oklahoma State, nothing too game-changing, I would say, for the Cowboys. But what is, I mean, they should have another element to the availability report, and they should have a transfer portal line at the bottom of that, because Oklahoma State, because of Mike Gundy being let go, guys are transferring. They lost their long snapper. They've lost a few other players as well. Can
he transfer to Arizona in the middle of the season, Justin? Can you maybe suit up at long snapper for Arizona?
I could see if maybe I could do it, because I haven't played for another team this season, and that's the NCAA rule, is that if you have practiced with the team, you can't transfer to another program and play a game in that same season. You could transfer to the program and still practice with them and still be a part of that team. But if you were a part of a program and you practice at least one practice and you transfer midseason, you cannot play in a game. So unfortunately, Arizona, they're unable to get the long snapper from Oklahoma State. But, they could still recruit some guys and add them. And that goes for the players over at UCLA. That goes for the players over at Arkansas and Virginia Tech. It's a weird.
Can you recruit them right now?
Yeah, you can recruit them. Yeah, because they enter the transfer portal, so all bets are off. Like, you can actually recruit guys. You can bring players to your program, but they just can't play in games.
As Max puts here in the chat, just one last quick note: no Keona Pete, hammer Oklahoma State money line. I think it's a good point from our guy Max here, as we've discussed that could be pretty game-changing for the Wildcats. But, Justin, we're going to get into the offensive side of the football, talk a little bit about Noah Fifita, how we can get this passing game working a little bit better, and then talk about what Danny Gonzalez had to say about the defense earlier this week. We'll do all that and more on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere. But first, let's talk about Branded Bills. You guys know I love my friends at Branded Bills because they are always keeping me outfitted with the absolute best headwear in the game, whether it's a snapback, trucker, fitted beanie, or t-shirt. Branded Bills has you covered with performance and style, and they have partnerships with over 40 universities, including Arizona, including that disgusting university that is here in this city that I live in for all of you ASU sickos here in the chat. And they also partner with the Phoenix Suns, so they got great local sports gear to choose from on brandedbills.com. We got our promo code of BBPHNX. It's going to get you 15% off your first order for the ultimate custom headwear and apparel in the business. We got some PHNX stuff that we got releasing in the near future here from Branded Bills, and we are excited about this partnership and to keep continuing it. If you want your brand to stand apart from the crowd, Branded Bills is the only way to make it happen. BBPHNX is going to get you 15% off over at brandedbills.com. Shout out Branded Bills. Also, shout out our friends over at Pure Edibles. Pure Edibles is another company that is always making sure that we're stocked up, locked, and loaded. And my guy, Connor Cox, who it is his birthday today. Happy birthday, Connor. One of our behind-the-scenes employees over here at PHNX Sports. Had some shipments come through, including this insane Tower Station IPA collab with our friends over there at Pure Edibles, where they made a all-in-one cartridge with Tower Station IPA, a staple of the Arizona beer scene. It's an incredible combo. It is made for Derek Montilla. You guys have to go check it out today. Hit up your local dispensary, Noble Herb Dispensary, one of the was the home of Pure Edibles in Flagstaff, Arizona, but now you can find them at over 130 dispensaries over across the state. There are 171 dispos, 140 plus of them have our friends at Pure Edibles. Make sure that you're shopping at one of those and go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from one of the over 130 dispensaries across Arizona. Well, Justin, we bring you back on here. I want to talk about this passing game a little bit, just because I feel like we haven't truly seen it flourish to the best of its ability in 2025 yet. Noah Fifita, he has been fairly efficient with the football. 965 yards this year, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, which are, fairly respectable statistics. And I think a lot of what Arizona fans wanted to see after last year, where it really felt like Arizona was very much forcing the passing attack constantly. You were down in games big time, and you had to throw the football to try to get back into it. And it led to some bad statistics from Noah Fifita's standpoint. But one thing that I haven't necessarily loved so far this year, Justin, is I think the lack of loud games from our weapons. And I think all offseason long, it was kind of touted from me, Kevin, you, although I don't want to put that evil on you, Justin, but Seth Doege, like anybody you talk to in and around the Arizona football program, they said, what is the calling card of this team? What is the calling card of this offense? They'd say the amount of weapons that we can throw the football to. We can hurt you in so many different ways. So far this season, Nunu Watley is first in receiving yards, 264 yards. And he, of course, had that, I believe, was it a 160-yard performance against Weber State?
Yep.
Yeah, 168 yards. So less than 100 yards from Nunu Watley in the other 3 games. Luke Wysong, number 2, with 128 yards and only 8 catches. Chris Hunter, we've mentioned, kind of the chemistry issues, the drop issues, 124 yards. Chris Hudson has been shelved for much of this season, 118. And then you got Brandon Phelps at 82, just underneath. I feel like, I love the ability to spread it around. It's obviously a lot better than last season, where Chris Hunter was like second on the team in receiving yards with like 400 or something like that, right? Like you're expecting to crush those numbers, thankfully. But I feel like you just haven't seen anybody kind of step up and take that mantle of the primary weapon here in this room. And, I think you need that going into Big 12 play and going into some of these very crucial games here in the upcoming slate. What do you make of this passing offense, and how do you think that they can kind of get things rolling a little bit more so?
Yeah, I'm not ready to sit here and say that the receivers are fool's gold just because we have not seen the full deck. We haven't seen all these guys play in all the games. I think the only times that Arizona has had a full deck this season, it was Weber State, if I'm not mistaken, and then last week against Iowa State. And so they're still trying to figure out the connection and the chemistry. And listen, I understand some people are going to sit there and just be like, okay, well, what were they doing in the spring? What were they doing in preseason training camp? They've had all this time to develop this chemistry. We've heard about Chris Hudson saying, yeah, Noah and I, we go to Chipotle all the time together. We hang out and watch TV together. That's how we're getting our chemistry done off the field. So our chemistry on the field is on point. And I get, some people are probably going to question like, okay, well, what's taking so long? Why aren't we seeing the chemistry? Game reps is just a little bit different. And then when you factor in the fact that there's only been 2 games where Noah's had every single receiver available, yeah, you're going to, it's going to take a little bit, and not everything is going to be sound. And I also, and I know that this is going to sound like a cop-out to some people, but there is some truth to this, what I'm about to say. Noah Fifita spent the last, 7, 8 years of his life throwing it to really one person. I understand, there's been some other great receivers at Servite and the Orange County Buckeyes. And of course, his first year as a starter at Arizona, he had Jacob Cowing and Tanner McLaughlin and Michael Wiley, right? NFL players around him. But, T-Mac was his guy. Tetairoa McMillan was Arizona's star receiver for the entirety of his career. And Noah had a chemistry, a relationship with him to where he knew exactly where he was everywhere on the field. I mean, they were always on the same wavelength, the same page at all times. So when you get into a situation to where it's scramble drill and now you're, trying, the play breaks up and now you're trying to create something out of nothing, T-Mac and Noah, I mean, they can, result with backyard football essentially and create those kind of plays. And also Noah knew exactly where to put certain passes. I mean, he would put certain balls in a place to where only T-Mac could go up and make that play. And so I still think that the game reps, the live in-game bullets, Noah's still trying to get accustomed to these guys. But I feel like this game coming up here against Oklahoma State, I feel like now that you understood the mistakes, you understood what you need to work on. And I mean, give credit to Iowa State. I mean, they've got one of the top secondaries in the Big 12, maybe not anymore because they just lost a bunch of depth there. I mean, Arizona might have broken Iowa State. They lost Jeremiah Cooper to the rest of the season. Jontez Williams, who came up with one of the picks against Noah Fifita, he's now out for, I think, either the season or an extended period of time. And then Dominique Orange up there on the defensive line, he got hurt as well in that game. But I digress. They played against a really good Iowa State team. And one thing that impressed me the most about Iowa State was that they were a really good tackling team too. Like if you notice, I mean, they made some plays, Arizona did. But Iowa State, they're also really good at making sure that you don't have a lot of yak. There were not a lot of missed tackles on Iowa State's defense. Whenever they made contact, you were going down. I mean, heck, I remember that play where they handed off the ball to Chris Hudson in the backfield. I think it was like on a jet sweep. And Iowa State, they were able to get in that backfield, get a hand on Chris Hudson's cleat, and they were able to pull him down. They were so good at bringing down ball carriers, whether it was in the passing game, whether it was in the running game. So Iowa State was a really good defense, but now that Noah and Seth Doege, both of them took accountability for Arizona losing that game. So now that I think that they're both back in the lab and they're honing in on their mistakes, that they know what they need to work on, and they're going up against an Oklahoma State team that is just really, really bad, I think that this is the perfect opportunity for Arizona's offense to really take that big step forward and then get some confidence, correct the mistakes. And then if you go into that BYU game 4-1, offense is humming, defense looks like the way it did the previous 3 weeks, Arizona's in a really good spot.
I think it's interesting where we're at right now with this team where I think going into the year, and this is natural, I think this is how football talk goes in the offseason, but everybody wants to talk about the offense, right? And everybody all offseason long talking about Seth Doege, Noah Fifita, your returning quarterback for his third season. But this defense has really kind of taken the mantle of being the lifeblood of this team, I think. And I think most Arizona fans are looking at every game going, well, we know our defense is going to show up. It's about whether or not this offense can put it together, whether or not this special teams unit cannot kind of, capitulate and really lose you games or hurt you in big moments. And that's another thing, Justin, is the kind of slow start to the Iowa State game, which really could have been in a way counteracted by just hitting an opening field goal, right? What do you think? What's the vibe around Arizona's special teams right now, and how do they plan on trying to get this thing on the right track? Isaac Lovison, I know you'll probably talk about him in a second. He kind of seemed to expand his range as the game went on and really started to find some good punts later in that one. His first punt, nothing really special to write home about, but he did catch the football on the long snap, which is huge progress from the previous game. So just kind of, can you tell us about this special teams and where they're going to try to make things better from what we've seen in the last couple games?
Yeah, and really that first quarter against Iowa State, that was like PTSD to last year.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the fumble on the opening kickoff, which was just really bad, and then the 2-point conversion that Iowa State scored to start the game. And that reminded me of what we saw last year against Texas Tech. If you remember Texas Tech, I think it was in the first half when they scored, they went into the swinging gate, they did the trick play, converted the 2-point conversion. And then against West Virginia, the Mountaineers rolled out a fake field goal and scored a touchdown off of that. So seeing the swinging gate after the first Iowa State touchdown, I kind of got PTSD to last year. But the first quarter was just an absolute nightmare scenario for special teams because you fumbled the opening kickoff. But Ismail Mahdi, he was able to kind of redeem himself a little bit after that. He had a nice run on the following drive with a 23-yard gain. And so that's a part of the red line, right? If you can't execute the play, accountability, own it, fix it. And that's exactly what Ismail Mahdi did. And then you go down there and you miss the field goal, 46-yarder for Michael Sagana-Medina. He is now 2 for 6. He's now 2 for 6 on field goals longer than 40 yards. I mean, last year, I don't know, did Tyler Loop even miss 4 field goals last year? Like, it didn't really feel like he missed 4 field goals. And Michael Sagana-Medina, he's missed 40 yards or longer. And so what was a weapon last year when it comes to the kicking game is currently a work in progress, and it's sort of a red flag for Arizona. But the easy answer is to sit there and blame Michael Sagana-Medina. That, he's the reason why that he's missing these kicks. And you mentioned it earlier when you were trying to recruit me to play long snapper, Damon. It's, sometimes it's the snap as well. Michael Sagana-Medina, he is responsible for this. Don't get me wrong. But the long snapper, Avery Salerno, he also has to have some better snaps as well. And so, yeah, special teams has been really a problem for Arizona all season long. And it doesn't really make sense because Craig Naivar, the special teams coordinator, he's a very detail-oriented guy, and it's very easy to play for him because he motivates the hell out of you. And Arizona athletic director Desiree Reed-Francois said that she sat in one of his meetings and was just so captivated by his style of coaching and his style of teaching. And so maybe the personnel, maybe there needs to be some changes or whatnot, or maybe Craig Naivar, maybe over the course of the season, we're going to see his coaching really start to stick with these players now that they have the game reps. And he's a great coach. I mean, I know that the product on the field doesn't reflect that, but I think he's a solid coach and definitely a huge bonus to Arizona's coaching staff. But special teams has to get fixed because in a game like Oklahoma State or even Weber State, yeah, you can get away with poor special teams. But against Iowa State, I mean, that was a key reason why Arizona went down 22-7 early on. So the Wildcats, they definitely need to fix up that part of it. And if they're going to, win some close games this year, special teams has to be on point because a team like Iowa State, which doesn't beat itself every game, they're going to make you capitalize on that.
Yeah, no, and you saw against Iowa State with they're on their third string kicker, and the guys making field goals, making every extra point he attempts. Like that is a team that doesn't beat themselves, and that's an incredibly well coached program over there at Iowa State. And if you're going to want to go toe to toe with those teams, you got to match that. So I agree with you, Justin. Like, it might not rear its ugly head against Oklahoma State, but I think that there's the chance that if Arizona's special teams unit doesn't figure some things out, that they could really be costing this team games. They almost did versus Kansas State. When you look at that Kansas State game in particular,
yeah.
Like that was damn close to being special teams pretty much clawing Kansas State back into that performance. So you can't, when you're playing in conference play and you're winning on the margins, you just can't give teams momentum changing plays like muffed punts and, missed field goal kicks on opening drives when you're trying to establish a little bit of a going toe to toe with this team. Because even if it was 8-3, but maybe they don't even go for that swinging gate if it's not a 0 point. If it's 7-3, you get ball back. Like I just feel so much better about the game than 8-0. You missed a kick and they ran a swinging gate on you. Like that one felt over 5 minutes into the game. And that's what last season felt like, to your point that you made earlier. But yeah, it's going to be a big one against Oklahoma State this weekend. And hopefully this passing attack can show us something a little bit more so. And hopefully this special teams can just get on the right track, Justin, because that's really what we want to see from them, is getting on the right track. And also, I think that the long snapping is, to the casual fan, that goes a little bit under the radar of like everyone wants to just be like, man, our kicker sucks. And he needs to play a lot better. Michael Salgado Medina needs to make kicks. I was talking with one of my friends who was a really good high school kicker, and he's talking about how when that ball is being placed down, if the holder is having to like kind of reach across his body, or like there's like any sort of movement that doesn't look like what is a normal routine, as a kicker mentally, when you're making your run up, maybe it gives you to have a half-second pause, then that throws off your entire kick. Like it's a whole process in chain, and you need the long snap to be on the money. And frankly, long snaps not being on the money at the Power 4 level is pretty unacceptable. So that's something that needs to be figured out quick for Arizona, and it needs to be, a almost automatic thing going into Big 12.
And I will say this, really the unsung hero of Arizona special teams has been Ian Wagner, because of one, the kickoffs. The dude just constantly booms them in the back of the end zone. But two, he's the holder for field goals. And if it wasn't for him, overcorrecting and catch the ball that's, kind of wide a little bit, and, getting into things that aren't really in rhythm, if it wasn't for him, I don't know what Arizona special teams would look like and how many more missed field goals we would see. It's a problem for sure. But I think that now that they've made the corrections, especially at punter, I thought I was really encouraged by that, because Isaac Lovison, 35-yard punt to start, and you're like, oh man, is this kid going to do it? And then he booms a 55-yarder. And then has another one that's inside the 20-yard line. And we saw during training camp, during the coffin corner drills, he could place them inside the 5-yard line. He's also got some touch too. And then, if the snap is a little off and you need to get into that rugby style kick, who do you trust more? The guy that played Australian rules football, or Michael Salgado Medina? With all due respect to Michael Salgado Medina, but if Arizona were to get into that situation, I would trust the Australian rules football player / rugby player a little bit more than Michael Salgado Medina. So I was pleased with Isaac Lovison's performance at punter, and he's definitely going to be the guy moving forward.
Now I want to get a little bit into this defense, Justin, and Danny Gonzalez talked about earlier this week that, he wants this team to, he said he wanted it to be 100 degrees outside. I saw your tweet about Arizona wearing white, forcing Oklahoma State to wear black. Anything to that? Yeah. Any legs there?
Yeah. So I don't know if that's what they were going for, but don't let the facts get in the way of a good story, right? That's the number one rule in journalism, right? That's what I always tell myself. Just kidding, guys. I take my job very seriously. The facts are always there whenever I write. We're capital J journalists around here. But yeah, I was thinking about it. I'm like, man, the game's going to be, 88 degrees right around kickoff. It's going to be beautiful weather. I can't wait for the weather Saturday at Arizona Stadium at noon. It will warm up by the time, the second half rolls around, but it's going to warm up to the 90s. Like,
easy to say from the press box, Justin. I mean, Arizona fans, with the sun beating on them, it's going to be pretty hot.
True. That is true. And take it from a guy who was out at training camp and spent some practices under the sun at Arizona Stadium. So trust me, I get it. I got cooked many, many times whenever I went out to spring ball and also training camp. So it is easy for me to say, like, oh, the weather's going to be beautiful. But, I mean, considering what we've been going through this summer with the temperatures, like, come on, 88 degrees. That's small potatoes, man. You guys can handle that.
For an AZ boy like myself and like yourself, Justin, that actually is like that's our version of like San Diego weather.
That's
Oh
perfect.
man,
that's San Diego summer weather. So just wear some sunscreen, hydrate. Make sure you're drinking some water, and enjoy the game, man. But I saw the uniforms, and I'm like, okay, Arizona's wearing white unis, and I'm colorblind. When I first saw the Sandstorm jerseys get released, I thought it was just the white jerseys with red numbers, and then they were like, no, these are Sandstorm jerseys, and I'm like, am I missing something here? Like, those are white jerseys. What's unique about it other than the numbers being red? And they were like, no, look closer, and I'm like, oh, that is like an off-white eggshell kind of. And then come to find out, I did some asking, and I asked around, and it's inspired by the LA Rams bone color jerseys. And so that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to, create a sandstorm look. And I'm like, man, light jerseys. And you're forcing Oklahoma State to potentially wear black in the middle of the afternoon. Psychological warfare. I kind of dig it. Now, what they need to do is they need to put up like on-field temperature, like thermometers on the Oklahoma State sideline, and let them know, like, hey, this is how hot it is. I'll never forget when they used to have it. They don't have it anymore, but this was in 2016, and Khalil Tate made his first ever start against USC. And this is when USC had Sam Darnold. And they had an on-field temperature board over near USC's locker room. And, dude, I kid you not, on-field temp was like 127 degrees.
I remember that. I was at that game sitting in the crowd. Brutal.
It was hot.
Family weekend, right? And Khalil got the start.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Khalil obviously did not look like the Khalil Tate that we saw the following year.
I'll never forget when he scored that touchdown and he started doing the fight on down the USC sideline when it was 7-0 Arizona, and then we lost about 56-7, and our fifth string tight end finished the game at QB. Man.
Yeah, Matt Morin. Oh, man. Matt Morin. I called him great value Tim Tebow because he was number 15. And I think he might have been a lefty too.
Jacked. One of the most jacked individuals I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. God bless that man. Man, we got a Matt Morin reference on the pod. I love that. But yeah, it was really hot. And that game was in October too. And I remember thinking like, so this is why they don't have afternoon games in the first half of the season. This is why they save the afternoon games for closer to Thanksgiving. But Arizona, they're hopeful that it's going to play to their advantage, right? I don't know if the white the sandstorm off-white unis had anything to do with the noon kickoff, or the noon kickoff had anything to do with them bringing out the new uniforms. But hey, I'd much rather wear white and light colored jerseys than to wear possibly black in Oklahoma State. And man, black unis on that turf with the weather. I understand it's going to be 88 degrees at kickoff, but man, that's going to be a hot one for Oklahoma State. So yeah, you got to find any advantage that you can. You got to pull out all the stops, even if it's against a very bad team like Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I mean, I love it, and I think that this is a situation where Arizona definitely just needs to go in there and just kind of set the record straight, make it easy, and just don't let this even become anything close to a game, because this team frankly shouldn't be really in a competition with you. But Justin, I did want to round this out with a fun discussion. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, but I know you've done some thinking about it before, because I did nab this from your Twitter account before the show. Arizona football Mount Rushmore. I think it's a really interesting discussion, and who better to have on than the man who came up with the idea, the man who is as locked in as anybody on Arizona football. What's kind of your four if you had to throw that one together?
So the four that I would probably put on this, I would, first off, you got the number one defensive player in program history in Ricky Hundley, who kind of like Tetairoa McMillan was a highly touted recruit. They didn't have the star system back in the day when Ricky Hundley was playing, but if Ricky Hundley was on 24/7's website or Rivals or On3, he would be a 5-star recruit. The guy was a stud. and
Huge.
it leads Arizona in all-time tackles and went on to have a great NFL career, was the highest drafted Wildcat in program history. So you got to put Ricky Hundley on that list. And then I will also put Chuck Cecil on that list as well. I mean, he's got the greatest play in program history with that 106-yard pick six against ASU. And this is where we really get interesting, because I think those two guys are gimmies. And, I would probably say maybe this is recent bias, but, I mean, would you put Tetairoa McMillan on that list? Like, as far as, like, individual success, greatest receiver in program history, came in as the highest rated recruit in program history, highest selected offensive player in the NFL draft out of the program. Like, I mean, how do you not consider him at least? So call me recency biased, but man, this is really hard. Do you put him or Nick Foles?
Yeah, I mean I think that's like, a lot of people are going to say Gronk, right? Because he's such a character and such like a big figure. But I just think with Gronk sitting out that last season at Arizona, it's hard to put him on there. I think maybe if he played that, we're talking about it differently. But yeah, I think for me at least, if we're not doing coaches, so like no Dick Tomey.
No, it's just players. If we're talking about figures, Dick Tomey's on that
for sure. 100%. Yeah. So the Dick that changes things a little bit for me. I'm deciding between Nick Foles, T-Mac, not Tet. That I've never done that before that's the first time I've ever done that in my life. Tetairoa McMillan, and I think Kadeem Carey deserves a shout. I really do. He was as good as T-Mac was at receiver in respect to running backs at college football at the time. He just wasn't the NFL prospect that T-Mac was with it. So it doesn't come with the hype that the national perspective gives you. But Kadeem Carey was leading the NCAA in rushing yards, coming back, getting second to Andre Williams and then destroying him in a bowl game in the Advocare V100 Bowl. That changed my life. One of the most special bowl games ever. But no, in seriousness, I think Kadeem Carey does deserve a shout to potentially be on that list as well.
Yeah, and Kadeem being from Tucson as well, and being this badass running back from Canyon del Oro who won a state championship and is from the city. So yeah, I mean, you definitely got to consider Nick Foles. Kadeem Carey. But I'm changing my opinion. I'm going to put Nick Foles ahead of Tetairoa McMillan. And I understand that this really has to do with what they did at Arizona. But, Nick Foles, all-time passing yards leader, great player. Now, some could say, well, he was a transfer. So is he like a Wildcat through and through? Like, was he recruited by Arizona? Did he have that legacy here? I still think that, for what he did here, you got to put him on there. And then Super Bowl MVP, the only guy to do that out of the program. And I know it's about what they did at Arizona, but I mean, Super Bowl MVP quarterback, that's certainly something that you got to talk about. But in addition to him being maybe the greatest quarterback in program history. So I'll put Nick Foles on that list. And then last but certainly not least, this is where it gets really hard as well, because it's like, do you go Teddy Bruschi or do you go Rob Waldrop? Because Rob Waldrop, I mean, yes, Teddy Bruschi had that career sack record as well, which is big time. But Rob Waldrop was a man amongst boys when he was playing at Arizona. And I think because he took up so many offensive linemen, it allowed guys like Teddy Bruschi and all these others to go out there and make some plays. But Rob Waldrop was a guy. I mean, that was a dude. So as far as like college success, I'm going to give the nod to Rob Waldrop. And then I'm going to barely exclude Teddy Bruschi. But I feel like, there are really no wrong answers unless you're just like completely out there in left field. Like, oh yeah, put Matt Scott on there, with all due respect to Matt Scott, because he's an awesome guy. But
Max wants BJ Danker.
Yeah, BJ Danker. Like, oh, what happened to Vanilla Vic? Put Vanilla Vic on the Arizona football Mount Rushmore.
Did you know that is what Sam Levitt is now being called by ASU fans, Justin? What are your thoughts?
No way. Oh, man.
Not even a lefty. Not even a lefty like our guy BJ.
Nah, man. He could be like, I don't know, Vanilla Murray or something like that. Vanilla Kyler Murray or something. But Sam Levitt's taller, right? So, I don't know.
I'm trying to think of a good comparison.
Vanilla
Lamar
Jackson.
He is white. I was going to say Vanilla Tannehill, but
that's redundant.
He's already white, yeah. What about Scooby Wright, as Sam Alberts put here in the chat?
Yeah, he's another dude that certainly gets some consideration. But the thing that's so special about Scooby was it was really just that 1 year. Like, you could say that Scooby Wright had the best defensive season in program history.
Oh, I don't think it's a question. It was nuts.
Yeah, because he became the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year, was a consensus All-American, won the Lombardi, the Nagurski, and all these other awards. I mean, he pretty much like cleaned house when it came to the college football awards. So I would say Ricky Hunley had the better career. But if we're talking about just one season, 2014 Scooby Wright was something special. And then, of course, he had some special plays to go along with that, like that strip sack against Oregon and stripping Marcus Mariota and coming up with that turnover that sealed the deal for Arizona. So, yeah, that's a good call with Scooby Wright. But I don't put him on the Mount Rushmore, but in my opinion, he had the best defensive season in program history.
Yeah, and that was a guy that was like almost single-handedly winning you some football games like that. The Oregon game comes to mind. The start to the ASU 2014 Territorial Cup where he strip sacks Taylor Kelly, I believe it was, on the first play.
Yeah.
Unbelievable stuff out of Scooby Wright in that 2014 season. I think for me, I'm going to go a little bit more modern than you, Justin, but very similar. I think I'll just go Hunley, Cecil, Foles, T-Mac, and that would be my four. I'll drop off that last Brewski or Rob Waldrop kind of play in there. But I do think those guys are very deserving. Kadeem Carey also deserves a shout. So does Scooby Wright. But as you said, no wrong answers here on the Arizona football Mount Rushmore, but definitely a fun discussion. Justin, we appreciate your time today, good sir. We will be talking to you again next week after Arizona plays Oklahoma State. You can, of course, check out Justin's great work over at Spears and Ali every weekday morning, 7 to 9 a.m. on ESPN Tucson, as well as Tucson.com for the Arizona Daily Star, always pumping out great articles, Big J type stuff over there from my guy Justin Spears. And you can follow his great Twitter account at Justin E Sports. Justin, appreciate you sticking with us. And before we get out of here, score prediction, Arizona versus Oklahoma State.
Yeah, let's get the old Fetty Wap score, 17-38. 38-17, that's going to be my score prediction anytime Arizona is favored to win big. I think Arizona covers this game. 20.5 points is a lot, but I think Arizona's offense gets it done. And then maybe you'll see some Braden Locke in that fourth quarter against the Cowboys when they really put things away. I think it'll be like a 38-10 type of ball game when it's, like 5 minutes left in the game, and then you'll see Braden Locke go out there. But yeah, I think the Wildcats will put up some points, they'll put up some yards, and they'll get it done. Give me a 38-17 score.
I want to see some Sawyer Anderson. I want to see that guy get out there. I remember when I was at the spring showcase and I looked out on the field and I was like, are they, like, no offense, but are they letting like high school kids like get a couple of reps out here, or like what's going on? And they were like, no, that's the third string quarterback. And I was like, oh. And apparently
Damon.
he's nice. Like Noah Fifita, Braden Locke, they talk him up too. And I want to see that baby face assassin get out there and just start ripping it.
They call him Saw Dog.
I love it.
Yes, and Saw, as they call him. That man leads the Dallas-Fort Worth area in all-time passing yards. So that baby face assassin, man, that dude can spin the football, man. That's a damn good quarterback. And who knows? I mean, shoot, once Noah Fifita is all done at Arizona, that could be your starting quarterback, or Oscar Rios comes into town. So that 2027 quarterback battle should be pretty awesome to watch.
Yeah, it'll be fun, but we'll worry about that when we get there. We're going to worry about
Yep.
Saturday in the meantime, Arizona versus Oklahoma State. Appreciate everybody for being in here today. We are the AZ Wildcats podcast. Of course, follow us at PHNX_Wildcats, and I am at Damon Dog. That's DWG. Follow my guy Kevin at Kevo Post. Just toss him a follow, even though he's, skimping out on this podcast and, making me do all the work. Whatever. Stupid Kevin. But appreciate everybody for watching. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you on a Friday 2 p.m. show on the AZ Wildcats pod. See you there. Or actually, sorry, not a Friday 2 p.m. pod. We're doing a Red-Blue game post-game show, me and Saul Bookman. So make sure that you guys are there for that. We're going to be going live right after the Red-Blue game ends and giving you our biggest takeaways from seeing Arizona basketball for the very first time. So not 2 p.m. Friday show. I'm dumb. Arizona basketball, Red-Blue game, post-game show. We'll be there for that. Make sure that you guys are too. Catch you next time on the AZ Wildcats pod.
We all silly like the mayor.